Hi, this is Jill. Welcome to the Life After podcast, where we talk about moving from surviving to thriving. This podcast is for anyone who wants to learn, grow, to get tips and tricks about how to inspire you to become the person you want to be, and get clarity about exactly what you want in life. This is also the place to be if you want to be lifted up and encouraged to go out and do great work in the world. What has happened in your past does not have to define who you are today or who you become in the future. And in fact, what has happened to you in the past should, can, and will shape who you want to be. This podcast is also about bringing people together. It's about connecting all of you, helping you identify where you are in your process. What do you need to feel more engaged and alive in your life? More connected to the people in your circle? This is a community of those who are looking to improve our world in the way that is most meaningful to them. Why is this important? Because how we show up really matters. Bringing more service, kindness, and love into the world is critical right now. You all know I love my quotes. Here are some of my absolute favorites from this season. First, change one thing and the whole thing changes. We have to learn to be our own best friends because we fall too easily into the trap of being our own worst enemies, by Roderick Thorpe. Everything you've ever wanted is on the other side of fear, by George Adair. Always ask yourself if what you're doing today is getting you closer to where you want to be tomorrow, by Paulo Coelho. You become what you think about most of the time, so think about what you want to accomplish. Earl Nightingale. Courage is what it takes to stand up and speak. Courage is also what it takes to sit down and listen, by Winston Churchill. Every time we face our fear, we gain strength, courage, and confidence in the doing. Theodore Roosevelt. The capacity for hope is the most significant fact of life. It provides human beings with a sense of destination and the energy to get started. Norman Cousins. Hope is not blind optimism. It's not ignoring the enormity of the tasks ahead or the roadblocks that stand in our path. Hope is that thing inside us that insists, despite all the evidence to the contrary, that something better awaits us if we have the courage to reach for it and to work for it and to fight for it. Barack Obama. Once you choose hope, anything's possible, by Christopher Reeve. I learned that courage was not the absence of fear, but the triumph over it. The brave man is not he who does not feel afraid, but he who conquers that fear. Nelson Mandela. In this episode, we're going to talk about all the best of season 1. It has been such an amazing gift, privilege, and joy to create, record, and publish the first season of Life After Podcast, From Surviving to Thriving. I'm pretty certain that I've gotten more out of doing it than you've gotten tips and tricks. Let's go. We started with mindset because mindset is everything. And what we know is that you have a choice about your mindset. Get clarity on what it is exactly that you want. There are a few ways you can do that. We know that habits take 21 to 66 days to change. So take those baby steps and keep the momentum and the motivation cycle that we've talked about actively moving. Use music. Plan ahead, set up playlists, and the beauty of music is you can use it for any mindset you want to cultivate. To focus, to get moving, for fun. Finally, what you tell your brain is what your brain believes. We're going to keep coming back to this over and over again. In episode 3, we talked about adversity, and the key here is to bend, not break. There are 4 steps in adversity. The first is to feel and acknowledge the pain. It's hard, but try not to avoid, deny, procrastinate. It's not going away. And the sooner you lean in and learn to address it, the easier it is to move through whatever challenge it is you're facing. Step 2, process it. Talk to a friend, write, listen to music, get out in nature, exercise, have fun with your pets, garden, read, see a therapist, prayer. The list goes on and on for all the ways you can process it. The third step, change your mindset. The most important shift you can make is from I can't to what can I do? I can. Use what would it take and how can I? Step 4, practice. Use that learning curve. We so often get stuck at stage 2, conscious incompetence. As adults, we forget how to learn. Lean in and relearn, and that always means failing forward. Episode 4, focus and attention. We started this episode with the quote, "Focus is a matter of deciding what things you're not going to do," by John Carmack. Saying no to one thing allows you to say yes to something else. Come back to your clarity. What do you want to be saying yes to? When you know what you really want, it's easier to stay focused on it and to give it the attention it needs to grow and develop. Recognize you don't need all the answers or all the steps at the very beginning. Just take one bit of action, then see where you are. If it feels good and productive and like progress, keep moving in that direction and take another step, and then another and another. If it doesn't feel quite so right, then reevaluate. Are you just coming up against a normal resistance, or do you need to take a different step in a different direction? And fight those gremlins. Always remember to add right now and yet to the end of your sentences. I could never buy a house becomes I can't buy a house yet. Spend a few minutes every day focusing on what you want. And when you're struggling, ask what would it take or what else is possible now. And those statements are from Access Consciousness. In episode 5, we talked about routines. Remember that decision fatigue is a real thing. So where you can have a routine, it really allows you to have more bandwidth for the more important decisions you need to make. A routine can also keep you focused on the most important stuff, minimize chaos, and allow you to just naturally move on to the next thing in your day. What are your 10 things? According to Life Hack Method, we can do 1 big, 2 or 3 medium, and 4 to 5 little things every single day. If that's really our capacity, then knowing exactly how you want to spend your time is important. Improve your mental energy by getting enough sleep, exercise, and eating well. All the things we already know we need to do, and often don't, especially when we're quote unquote busy. Always include your family and friends. Don't be so focused on your to-do list that you give up the joys in your life. Episode 6 was on that mind and body connection. Your physical and emotional health are intimately intertwined. How you are feeling, your feelings in your body matters. When you're off balance, move, dance, exercise, breathe, meditate, pray, practice yoga, walk, do yard or housework. Always be moving to help you focus on that connection. Episode 7 is one of my absolute favorites. What you tell your brain is what your brain believes. Your words, your language, both internally and what you hear externally, are your reality. Therefore, what you believe and tell yourself directly affects what you achieve. Always come back to, what do I want? And Affirmations work. What are your favorite? Some of mine are, if not this, then something better. How does it get any better than this? Universe, show me something beautiful today. What's my new story? I'm safe, loved, and okay. We talked about confidence in episode 8. Always use past evidence, especially when you're trying to level up on something. So take those successes you've had in the past and remind yourself that you've got this covered. And go back and visit Amy Cuddy's power poses because they really do work and you really can improve your confidence in less than 2 minutes at a time. Episode 9, we talked about motivation. There are 4 types of motivation. The 2 that we look at the most are extrinsic and intrinsic. And when we look at those, it really helps us to understand why or why we're not taking any action. Building intrinsic motivation, which is motivation internally, means staying focused through the ups and downs and obstacles to stay motivated to get what you want. Your values are really important in the motivation process. Really pay attention to what language you're using. And again, use that past evidence to remind yourself that you can have your future successes. In episode 10, we talked about resilience and mental toughness. Know that what you've been through, those challenges, are what builds your resilience and grit and make you stronger and more compassionate, tolerant, understanding, empathetic. How do you build resilience and grit? Well, you got to prepare ahead of time, right? You don't learn how to play the violin in the middle of the concert. Manage your stress. Go back and listen to that episode where we did the I can do it exercise, and never underestimate your inner dialogue. The last couple of things that allow you to build resilience and grit: self-care, whatever that looks like for you, and getting plenty of sleep. In episode 11, we talked about grief. Grief is a part of any loss, and it's not just about when we lose someone through death. And grief stacks on top of each other, one episode at a time. We talked about this amazing article called "Everyone Around You is Grieving. Go Easy." It's an article that I've read several times, and it really is meaningful, really powerful. I'll put the link to the article in the show notes again if you want to check it out. There are so many resources out there about grief, so don't be afraid to reach out and ask for help. This is one of those things that it's a lot easier to process grief when you have someone to share with and talk to. Always, always, always take extremely good care of yourself. Communication. Episode 12 was all about communication. It is so complex. Remember the basics: the inflection of our voice, the tone of voice, and the body language. Those are all the things that generally we talk about when we talk about communication. However, then there's also the sender and the receiver. There's active listening blocks, and the barriers and the filters. This episode is chock full of information, so go ahead and go back and listen and see where maybe your communication might be able to improve. Conflict styles. Episode 13, conflict styles. Please don't be afraid of conflict. And know that people have different styles, and each style works in certain circumstances. If you want to check out those styles, you can always Google Craybill conflict styles for more information. And if you have the opportunity ever to take the Craybill conflict style test to see what your styles are, I highly recommend it. Episode 14 was one of my favorite, and I feel like one of the most important. and that was about hope. There is truly a science of hope. It is the number one protective factor against stress, trauma, and the effects of adversity. If you do nothing else, learn more about the critical importance of hope and how hope can have a significant ripple effect in the lives of the people around you. A great place to start is the book Hope Rising: How the Science of Hope Can Change Your Life by Gwinn and Helllman. I'll put a link in the show notes for you. My very first guest in episode 15, Courtney Wittenberg. She is one of the most absolutely amazing people ever. She has so many practical tips for how to manifest change in your life. I'm such a firm believer in letting people tell their own stories, so go back and take a listen to hers. Episode 17 was my great friend, Aria Harris Keller. She's a powerful clearer that helps parents. She's got a fantastic website called This Goddess. And so go back and listen to her story. I'll put a link in the show notes. If it resonates with you, reach out to her. She knows what she's talking about. She's been there. Her experience is meaningful and she can help you. Episodes 16 and 18, Fear and Gremlins 1 and 2. Watch those voices in your head. Always be mindful. Remember, the 4 fear gremlins we talked about were the fear of dreaming. And to counter that one, have a really clear vision. The fear of failure. Be willing to fail forward. Be willing to shift your mindset and build your resilience. The fear of upsetting people. You know, knowing what you really want can help counter this one. One trick. Say, I want to run a marathon. So ask, what are the qualities of someone that runs a marathon? And then do those things. And the final one, conflict identification, which is where we really question ourselves and we don't take credit for who we really are in the world. It's I'm not the funny one, that's my brother. To counter this, whenever you can, always tap into your authentic self. Trust yourself and your intuition. For all of these fears, don't give those little gremlin voices too much real estate in your head. And then act. Remember Malcolm Gladwell? Never react to being stuck by stopping. A lot of problems are resolved by doing. I find that this quote by him is incredibly accurate, and I come back to it again and again. And finally, episode 19 on narcissism. The best reference for this episode is to check out my Facebook Live series, which are also on YouTube. There is so much information on this topic, and I will keep bringing you great content. Please reach out to me if you would like some additional support, would like me to come speak to your organization, would like to have your school book me to speak to students, would like to be a guest on the show, or have any feedback you'd like to share. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to any or all of the episodes in Season 1. Remember, you can change your life. Get clarity on what you want. Then, re-listen to this season to get all the tips and tricks you need to help make that change. I'll be back next season to bring you more interesting topics, guests, value, and discussion. I hope you have a fantastic day, and I'll see you soon. I appreciate you sharing these episodes. This podcast is a powerful resource for anyone that is looking to make changes in their lives. So please, please, please help me grow by sharing, liking, and subscribing. There will be new episodes on the second and fourth Wednesday every month. I promise that every episode I'm going to show up and be real to help support you in your individual journey. Please see how to connect with me in the show notes or go to my website at locatecoaching.com. I hope you have a fantastic day, and I'll see you soon.